Yo.
Welcome back, y'all. Show Some Love Show.
Yeah.
Inglewood Enterprise Gallery. You here with me, Queen Zenobia, and Baba Eric, Baba Perez.
Yeah.
Man of multiple names, multiple cities he live in and everything.
Yes,
Once again, every Wednesday, 6:30, we go live. Show some love. And,
Another Wednesday.
Yeah.
Here in Chicago, all my Chicago people, y'all know it's snowing today. It's getting down outside. We getting some of that, all that stuff they got on the West Coast.
Oh, yeah, we
last
sure
week
getting a
coming
little
our
some
way.
of that. Absolutely. So the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery, 1200 West 35th Street is our location. Y'all can send us an email, inglewoodenterprisegallery@gmail.com.
Yes.
We help teach entrepreneurship skills to youth. We have a Million Crystal movement. We got a different apprenticeship and volunteer programs. So we're just that kind of community organization. And we also work with other communities other than Inglewood as well.
Yeah, we all around the world.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's one thing I love. I don't want to get off topic, but that's one thing, when we grew up, it was hard to get your message out around the world. Now today with the internet, man,
it's easy.
it's no reason why you shouldn't be
I sent one of my friends this link in
message.
Africa, but it's 2 a.m. in Africa right now. So, yeah. But hey, man, they said they might wake up and watch it. So,
yes. Not to cut you off. But every show is always uploaded to YouTube, like 2 or 3 days after we air live.
I was going to say a week later.
About a week later, yeah. And so you could always go back and check the show out. And just so you know, too, before we move forward, the phone number, it's not on the screen, but you can call us today at 312-738-1060.
Yeah.
So give us a call. Somebody should be manning the phones.
Always,
and
yeah.
We'll take
definitely.
some live calls
on
today.
Salute Can TV for all the wonderful things they do around here. And also, remember, this is a public access station channel, so y'all can help in the community as well.
Yeah, and if you have a non-for-profit, you can have your own show.
Absolutely. They give you a little training, and they teach you the ropes, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So our third host, who's not here, he threw a topic at us,
Oh, yeah. Who was that?
Medina the artist, Brother Medina.
Artist. You can find him on Instagram
Absolutely.
under Medina the artist.
Medina the artist. And so he say, well, why is it that the fatherless children has the highest rates here in the U.S. versus all across the world? Okay, so that's a serious topic when we start talking about fatherless children. Okay, because you either grow up 3 different type of ways. You either got both your mom and dad, or you got just your single mom or your single dad, or you grew up with both your mom and dad, and one of them happens to pass away. Oh gosh, jeez, and then you end up with one of the parents or what have you. And so, research says it's a major problem here in the U.S.
In the United States.
the U.S.
Why am I not surprised?
I was doing some thinking about it. I think I know it's a cultural thing, we're here, we're all into media, man. We can't do it. We can't stop putting our phones down. Phone. Who reads a newspaper anymore? Who even write real news articles in the paper? Hey, these are opinions of Queen Zenobia as well, just to be clear, And also call on me on the phone. You want to challenge, and, I'm up for a great debate. So look.
That's our topic today.
So, research shows that a husband and wife, when they raise their child, they have the same results as a single father. Research says that single father must be doing some of the same things that both parents are doing at home. But then it also, on the other side of the hill, is that a single parent mom, the youth is objective to having sex too early or having an abortion, unexpected pregnancy, depression, anxiety, and income loss. All these different type of things can happen just because of how your parenthood was structured, So I believe it got to do with our education system here in the U.S. And this is
why the fathers ain't around?
Yeah. The fathers ain't around for a lot of reasons, E. I'm trying to DNA. I got a lot of different ideas in my head that pop up. So, society is trying to stigmatize the father away from the family, regardless of the status of the relationship between the mom, the dad, the father, and the child. Regardless of that, they just like, nah, y'all, we don't want none of y'all to get along. We want y'all to be chaotic. And so that's, I don't even know who's doing it.
Let me interject real quick.
Yeah, please help me out.
So these statistics and what you speaking on,
Mm-hmm.
are we speaking on all families, or are we speaking on families of color? Because in my opinion, of course, we all know it's no secret that there are more families of color without fathers.
Yeah.
And then we got to get down to the root of that, like why are fathers of color not around? And I say of color because I ain't just gonna say black, because it's across
black,
the board.
brown,
Yeah. So I mean, there are multiple reasons that we could probably get into of why families of color are not don't have fathers, or they're not around. So I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, are these statistics based on families of color?
It don't say families of color,
Mm-hmm.
but when I did look it up, here's another statistic that single black fathers raise their children better than single parent white fathers. Now, that's a separate research. Like, this first research came from a guy who was talking about all races. Let him tell it. But this one person say that black fathers, single fathers, raise their children better than the Europeans. I think that has to do with like our historical cultural system. You know what I'm saying? If you have to raise a child successfully, you need to have the right income. You have to develop the right routine, and you have to have self-esteem. So it's an emotional trigger with why fathers aren't around.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna speak on what I know and from my experience. I've raised 2 children with. I'm not with the mothers, but I would consider myself somewhat, with my children with me, a single father. But I would say in the African American community, it's so many brothers, going to jail, getting killed, and not getting along with the baby mama, to put it simple.
Okay.
But I think that's one. I'd like to see the statistics on that of those 3 ideas, which one is more prevalent, because you have it's sad to say that, especially when I moved to Chicago, that it's almost common for brothers to go to jail, for something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like by the time you turn 18, 25, 30, if you ain't been to the county, like something wrong.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I honestly got to say, I almost went to the county one time, but I ain't never, my feet ain't never stepped foot in the county.
Yeah, I feel
me neither. And I think that's one of the major reasons why, as far as African Americans or brown.
And then we go back to the basics. Now, sometimes when we make that choice to have sex with the person, it might not be the right person, and then that's when it starts, and then it's like a whole trickle effect. Like, you already know that you opposite of that person, but you have sex, you have a kid, unexpected kid. That's another thing that this research say, that all these single parent children, they were unexpected children. It wasn't like the parents say, "Oh, I'm a plan to have you." No, they didn't plan to have these children.
Well, I mean, I would, if I could throw a statistic out, which don't quote me on this, but I would say 70% across the board, black or white, of children are not planned. You know what I'm saying? It's very
few.
I feel
you about a good 30% that plan to have kids.
I've heard women say, I want to get married and I want to have babies, and that's true. They in their mind, they planning.
Are they mentally ready?
But
are they
a lot
physically
of times,
ready?
Yeah,
are they
a lot of times
economically ready? So that's the second thing. So I said emotional trigger, economic trigger. You ain't got enough money. I ain't got enough money. I ain't got no pets because I ain't got no extra money to feed no cat, no dog, no bird, no fishies. I like them, but I ain't got them like that. And so then when you have this unexpected thing, now you have to adjust your income to bring in more income for another life.
Yeah.
And then some of the brothers go through the struggle and they just give up and they just be like, ah. But then again, some of them don't give up. And some situations where there is the mother who blocks out the father.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about that a lot either.
Yeah, I speak on my own experience. When my son was born,
Y'all had a blackout?
Nah.
Okay.
A lot of my friends that I had at the time and still have, they hadn't had any. I was kind of like the first one to have a child.
Okay.
And my state of mind, like what you mentioned, is when I found out that my son's mother was pregnant, I instantly was like, man, I got to do something better, and it was more of a financial,
Exactly.
it was like, man, I have to have a better job. I want something from my child. And so I took the steps, which led me to Chicago. I was like, man, I need to go get me a degree so I can get me a better job. So that was like some of the first steps that I took. And I do this, and I pretty much did the same thing with my daughter. As when she was born, I wasn't financially where I wanted to be. But I said, man, I need to go ahead and get better than where I am. And I went and got my master's degree.
Okay.
And not saying you have to go and get a degree, but it's just that I just wanted that under my belt to be like, if I did need to go slave for somebody, at least I could get paid.
I like the fact that you strategize on how to get extra income. You're like, okay, well, I can do this, and then I can do that. But a lot of men or women, because we got mothers that are struggling economically too, not really on that same mental frame, or like go back to my whole emotional and psychological evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the psychosis of the situation, my people. I'm sure y'all hitting this hotline up yet. I can't tell if the lines are ringing.
Someone hit me up and said they called and it ain't going through. So I don't know.
Okay, all right, then that's what's happening.
That's what I was told.
I believe it. Look, one of these weeks we will get the hotline running through. Mm-hmm. I believe them because we got a couple people calling in. Our co-host supposed to call in too, so
yeah, I got some callers. I mean, people was calling, but
that's fine. All right,
but that's cool. We working on it. But again, back to the father thing. It's an epidemic. Of homes with no fathers. And we gotta change that. You gotta change your mental state and you just gotta want more, and want better. And that was the mentality I was in,
So do you think spirituality plays a part? Like, do you have to be religious to raise successful children, or I got some weird questions I wrote on there. Like,
it all depends on what you define as success. You don't have to have money to be successfully spiritually. You don't have to have a dime. But if you want to be financially successful, yeah, you need to start coaching your children at an early age on how to sustain and how to get money, to basically. And fortunately for me, my parents didn't necessarily sit me down and say, hey, this is the stock market, or this is, you got to do this. They didn't really sit me down like that. I pretty much had to learn on my own, but I was a pretty smart dude, and I figured it out, and I ain't no millionaire. I wish I was, but, I'm making it, enough to take care of the children.
All right. So I brought that up because I do know that a constant routine is one of the keys in raising your child. As raising a successful child is making sure you provide for that child until they are able to provide for themselves.
Yeah.
That's my short-term definition.
I mean, what I tell my daughter all the time, is I could be here today and gone tomorrow.
Like,
so
where you at?
You have to get them mentally ready in case something like that happens. Because, as you know, I lost my son a year and a half ago. Rest in peace, J. Rue, but that was the things I was on with him, trying to... and I give thanks to Brother Medina too, because from an early age, J. Rue traveled around with us. We went across the country.
Everywhere.
We went to festivals. We was hustling. He was shown, how to get money, legitimately, You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
I remember vending with him at a couple
Yeah.
African festivals. We
Yeah.
selling different cultural products. He like, yeah, they trying to sell it. He like, hey, what y'all? I got this for y'all. All right.
So I mean, you know, it was you know, nowadays though, you know, it's hard to with kids, you know, that got the phone stuck in their face. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
part of
It's
the
hard to
problem.
break through and
That's
try to
definitely
get
part
them
of
to
the
understand. So I actually think, you know, we're gonna have a generations of late bloomers. You know, because one, the parent ain't teaching them how to be self-sustainable. You know,
Right.
sustainable.
Exactly.
Two, you know, they stuck into the phone and they thinking they believe in everything
They
they
depended
see.
on social media.
They
to tell them
depending
what
on
to
all
do.
that stuff. So it's a little harder for parents these days to actually teach
So
your
like
child.
when we was kids, the community helped raise the children. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was acceptable. But now they say 2023 is not really acceptable. Is that why the people ain't doing it? Or what?
Well,
I still be doing it. If I see some shorties, some youth doing something that's
Yeah.
like, you know, inappropriate, I need to teach them a lesson. I got something to say. Especially when I be on those CTA bus and they running their whole mouth and they saying every other word under the sun other than positive words that show some love. I gotta turn around and say, man, you got all these elders on the bus. Because when I was a youth, I had an elder check me like that. So I say, okay, I'm gonna tell them like that.
better
Hey,
watch
baby, can you
yourself.
pull your pants up? I shouldn't see. You
Your
shouldn't
butt
see
crack.
you do it. Right, exactly.
Well,
So,
you know, unfortunately, you know, I do say stuff to these youngsters because I used to be a teacher.
Right.
But you know, I'm very I pick and choose my battles. You know what I'm saying? Because nowadays these kids, you know, you never know what you're gonna get. Especially you talking about CTA, especially on the red line.
Absolutely. Right.
Because it goes down.
Because I came from a single mom home, and they say all this stuff supposed to happen bad for me, but I didn't have that because I had my routine, you know, stable income, high self-esteem, you know, different little things with the program. So I don't really believe some of that stuff, but I do have some of my girlfriends or my homeboys who I'm like, oh, wow. You know, I run my homegirl, she got 7 children, and she 3 years younger than me, you know.
Father not in the...
and different fathers ain't in none of that. I think it's about 4 different fathers.
Yeah, you got to learn your lesson. At some point, you know, after about 2 or 3, you need to shut it
so
down.
when people have sex, there's a shared energy. You're not just sharing physical saliva and da-da-da-da-da-da. You
Bodily
sharing some
fluids.
stuff, all right? It's a whole...
Emotions.
Right, like, you know, like, I don't know, we start talking about crystals and what crystals can do for you, man. You have sex with the wrong person, man, that might do something for you. You be trying to figure out what's wrong and you wouldn't even know because of that emotional connection. And so that's part of the problem, too. But I believe every child is a blessing. I also have a theory that the child picks the parent before they get to the head and they be like, I picked you 2 smart parents to be my parents.
You know, that's interesting that you say that because I was built on some, you know, some knowledge that I've been reading and going through. It was talking about how, you know, on a spiritual connection with the mother and the father. So you know, their mindsets when they come together and create a child. That spirit that hasn't come into the world yet, you said, they pick and choose their parents. That's what I kind of read was that based on how the mother and the father is in their mental state, a spirit comes in, you know, a spirit kind of chooses where, like, what parent to come in, you know, well, how the parent, it chooses the parents on how it's gonna come into this world. It's just, I don't want to get too deep on it, but yeah, it was just interesting that you said that because I was, you know, reading that. I wish, I could, you know, the veil
and my
was
father
lifted.
wasn't around because he's locked up or he got a life sentence. So, like he's talking about people getting jail. So we got the prison system separating families. Okay. Education separating families. Social media separating families. But what's bringing families together? You see what I'm saying? So I was out here in the hallway of Can TV. I saw this here. Fathers Who Care. Y'all West Side, that's 4540 West Washington. They got to promoting a safe and drug-free community, and they want to empower future leaders, and these are fathers running this program. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that with y'all.
What do you think brings the families together?
Cultural events. You know what I'm saying? Developing your own setting up your own legacy. Like, what legacy we leave? Like, I don't have children. Do I want to have children? I don't know.
I thought
I'm actually old school. Actually, plan on having kids whenever I get to that point. You know.
So I mean, when you said what brings
families together.
So
like,
I think that it's a 4-letter word that is stronger than anything that brings everything, not just families, but LOVE, love. I mean, if you ain't got no love, if you having sex with somebody and it's just for sex and it's just for the feeling, then you starting your foundation off wrong. You gotta have love has to be the foundation, and if love is not the foundation in everything that you do, it's going to be hard to have a good positive outcome. So I think if the mother and the father aren't in love and when they come together and them fluids start to exchange, it got to be the love, the emotional part to it, that helps bring that child into the world. And that's just what I believe. It's more spiritual for me.
I feel you on that. Love could cure a lot of things. That's right.
Love conquers all.
You know what I'm saying? How you tied that into the show? So love, we had love to help bring the families together. That almost help out with the whole emotional problem. When people have low self-esteem and they start developing these eating disorders and start thinking they need to look a certain way and do all this type of things. But if they had the right love, then they would strengthen their self-esteem and their confidence, and then they would just do almost right and just try to be a family and pull it all together.
Yeah, and I don't want to get on some racial stuff, but I'm gonna say one more thing about like the black and brown and compared to the white. What I've noticed throughout my life is that when you have like let's say a successful white family and they have children, I noticed that it's certain standards and certain things that they expect from their children. I'll just give you an example. Like, they expect their child. Like, if you have 2 lawyers, having a baby, they expect their child to be going to college or getting something. They expect their child to be doing certain things. And I think that's...
my entire family went to college, and they're like, you're going to college.
Right, so I just think that that's one of the things that some of the families of color we lack. We don't have high expectations of not just ourselves but of our children, and we set our standards and our expectations too low, and it should be ingrained in them from birth, and all the way up into through all the way through their early childhood to expect certain things, behaviors, things that you're supposed to do, respect, your parents and all that. Exactly. And I think that nowadays, especially nowadays, that's what a lot of families of color, where we drop the ball. We have low expectations, and maybe it's because we come from poverty, or we lack certain things.
And we lack communication, because sometimes we might have the expectations but not share it. Yeah. And so, we're not mind readers. And right, we don't mind readers, and that's why I keep saying the whole routine. Like, if every day I'm gonna say I love you and I expect you to do this and that, then I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna reflect, and I'm gonna work on doing what she's telling me I need to do. I had a daily routine, had to do my homework before I could play my video game or do whatever extracurricular
activity. Hit it right there.
Even to watch a movie, I had to do my homework first. I had to wash the dishes, clean up the house, clean up my room, and then you might be able to do a child activity now.
And I think that it all ties into respect as well, because when your child don't respect you, then you're going to have some problems. So that's, like I said, I think that with more of a white family, and like I said, I don't have nothing against white people, I don't have nothing against black people, nothing. But I just think that when they come into the house, and I ain't saying every family, I'm just saying just the average white family, when their child is coming up, and they have certain expectations,
Right.
they meet the expectations first, and then they go out and do whatever they gonna do, whether it be drugs or act a fool or whatever it is they gonna do. They meet their expectations first, But then you got a lot of with us. With our expectations being a little lower, and then some of us not being all making a full circle, not having fathers in the family, and not having a strong hold, structure in the family. Then all that I was about to cuss. All that stuff gonna fall apart in the end.
Y'all listening? If you have children,
can we cuss on this show?
No. If you plan to have children, make your plan a little bit more. Develop this structure.
Yeah.
If you don't have any
and
children, stick to it. Also, remember, if you have sex, unprotected sex, even protected sex, now you got a percentage of having a child. So you just got to prepare for everything you do. Like I know, when I wake up, I go to work. My boss, my employer, he want me to do some work when I get to work. He don't want me to just sit there and look at him. So you just got to go follow through with what all your expectations. You like, my cell phone bill due, when the date is due, what I'm gonna do? I'm responsible. I'm gonna pay the bill. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this, and this is just a tad bit off topic, but you being a woman, I'm always curious to know, because this whole big debate we've had in society over the last few years about abortion and stuff.
Okay.
But as a woman, because I keep hearing you say something about using protection and so you won't have children. How do you feel about women's rights and abortion? I mean, do you think are you pro-life or whatever they call it?
It's hard to say. I'm
on the fence.
If you have been assaulted and you got pregnant from some type of assault or rape or what have you, then if you want to have abortion, sure. But if you have decided to willingly have sex, I don't think you should have an abortion. That's
you
what
should take on your responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I go back and I sound like a hypocrite because if you ain't got enough income or self-esteem or no type of routines and you kind of wilding out and totally party phase, then maybe you should have one. But it shouldn't be free. Because
this is what I don't understand.
Double-edged sword.
This is what I don't understand is that women, they out here in the streets fighting to be able to make the decision that they should be able to do what they want to do with their bodies. But I'm going to rewind it back to when you had that night with that dude. All right.
Okay.
And you had an opportunity to either wear a condom or take the day after pill or whatever it was you was gonna do it. Why didn't you do that then? Why, if you didn't want to have a child, why did you get pregnant? When you have all these contraceptives and all these things that could prevent you from having a child, but yet now all of a sudden, I ain't talking about the rape and I ain't talking about the other stuff.
Right.
I'm just talking about now that you done had a living being in your belly, and now you decide you want to get rid of it. That's one of the battles that I have. Is I don't understand. If you didn't want no baby, you should have took the precautions.
And it goes back to the whole emotional, psychological trigger that I was talking about earlier. Y'all, this is the Inglewood Enterprise Gallery show. We got a third Friday art show coming up in March with Medina the artist.
Where can they find us at?
We are at 1200 West 35th Street.
Yes.
Email us inglewood.enterprisegallery@gmail.com. We're looking for artists. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for art apprentices as well. Hopefully next week I'll have some number y'all can call in. Even if it be my cell phone, I have a number. We gonna chat it up.
Yeah, maybe we should try that.
We can. Anything you want to close on that with?
I just want to say, tune in again. This is every Wednesday, 6:30 Central Time. So if you're on the West Coast, that'll be 4:30. If you're on the East Coast, that'll be 7:30.
Absolutely.
And this is every Wednesday, CAN TV.
Show some love. Thank you.
Show some love, my people.